don't know if you saw that hype video that Texas put out ahead of the Alabama game with the Undertaker, but right at the end of it, he goes, "Are you ready to get your horns up?" That's right, folks. It's Get Your Horns Up. I am joined by Orangebloods' own Aaron Little and Nash from Texas, who likes to talk about his home state. Nash, how you doing this morning, brother?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you doing?
Peachy keen, living the dream. You, Aaron?
Doing all right. It's Wednesday. I was talking about before we started going. It's like, we wait all year for football season, then we get all spoiled, and then we get to Wednesday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And there's like no Thursday night football, no Monday night football. It's like, what the hell? I was promised football, and now you got.
Hey, but it's gonna go fast,
Thursday.
Aaron.
What's up?
It's gonna go fast, man. After this week, we're already a fourth of the way through the season.
Guys, if you want to talk football with us, this is a darn good day to get your questions in, by the way. Like Aaron said, it's Wednesday. We're in the lull of the week. If you have questions, jump on the Specs chat line, just like Zoe, who got in early, first off the bat with the hook 'em. And
I got Benny first. But
Benny was first. I'm sorry, Benny. I didn't see that. Well, good morning, Benny. I apologize. Tip of the hat to Benny. We got J-Mac checking in. We've got Brandon Wyckoff with the good morning, y'all. Hook 'em horns. Get your questions in. We should have time to answer some today, but if you want to guarantee we answer it, the best way to do it is the super chat. Yeah, throw us a buck. Throw us 5, 10. I don't know, whatever you feel comfortable with. But if you do, I promise you, we will answer it. Guys, so here we are. Most of us are still kind of on that Bama hangover, right? We're still got a little bit of buzz, but it's starting to come down a little. We need that next fix coming soon. And instead we get Wyoming. And we are going to talk a lot of Wyoming today because it's time for the scouting report this week. The scouting notebook. We're going to get into Wyoming and what they're kind of going to present a little later in the show. We pre-taped the interview with the guy from Wyoming. It was a good interview. He had a lot of good information about what Wyoming brings to the table this week. But for our perspective for now, the question is, what do we want to see from Texas? This is not about Wyoming. What do you want to see from Texas going into this game? Let's start with you, Nash. What's the one thing you're really going to have your eye out for this week?
It's the run defense, not run defense, but run offense. I think that the run game has been one of the things that has been, quite frankly, lacking because there's a guy that we have multiple good guys that are capable of carrying the football, but we don't have that Bijan or Roschon yet that we can just trust. Hey, we're going to give you the ball in third and 5 or less, and you're going to get us the first down. And it really sucks that not Jonathan Brooks, but Cedric Baxter hasn't been able to play a full game yet and stay healthy. I'm not sure if there was another update on his health yet that's come out, but this should be a big game for Jonathan Brooks to really show that he can carry that lead role and, have multiple double-digit carries.
Yeah, we don't have another update on Baxter yet, just that he was, I think Sark said Monday he was day-to-day, or we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, that's a good call. I'm kind of with you on I thought Jonathan Brooks had a good game against Bama. Not a great game, but Bama's a damn good defense. I thought he had a good game, especially against that Bama defense. What can he do against Wyoming? Who, as we'll talk about in the interview, Wyoming has a pretty decent run defense. They're not bad.
And that's a major part of what I'm sitting here trying to say is this is a defense that I think that it's a good test. It's not I understand Rice is Rice, but at the end of the day, Rice is a good football team for this year by Rice's standards. Yeah. Like you heard the host, we're gonna have the Rice may have 7 wins, especially with that win over Houston. Imagine if Rice ends up winning 8 games this year.
Yeah,
how funny would that be?
Well, that's what the Rice interview in the scouting notebook ahead of week 1 said they were going to get to. He predicted 8 wins for Rice, and it's so yeah that'll only boost Texas's resume for the college football playoff. Aaron, what is it that you are keeping your eye on this week?
Yeah, first off, I just wanted to say we did summon Travis to the dungeon. If you can tell his lighting after the whole Oregon State debacle yesterday, we did ban him to the dungeon, so that's why the lighting is a little off today. But I agree on the run game. That was one of the first things I wrote down. I talked about it yesterday. I specifically want to see it in the red zone because we do talk about it with Ryan later in the show. Their run game is their run defense is pretty formidable. It sounds like so. If Texas can run the ball specifically in the red zone where they don't have enough room to stretch the field, that would be pretty impressive to me. That's what I would like to see because, man, you get late in the season, you get in a Big 12 championship game, you get in a college football semifinal game, you get, first and goal on the 8, you got to be able to run that thing in there. Like, you got to find a way. So that's one thing. And then the other thing I had written down was more deep balls. I mean, we saw it for 1 week. I want them to keep building confidence and keep building momentum with the deep balls. I don't want it to be just a one-off. They hit a couple deep balls versus Alabama, and then you get back in front of a packed DKR and you miss a couple deep balls. And everyone's going, I want it to be like, okay, the deep ball is here to stay. So I hope they hit 2 or 3 of those against Wyoming.
That's a great point, Aaron. I mean, honestly, like when you talk about that's something that I said before going into the Alabama game. Even if we start hitting the deep ball, I want to see it more. I want to see at least versus Wyoming. And honestly, versus Baylor too, because it was just so bad to the point where, and this is what I'm saying, like people have got mad at me for being too positive on Quinn Ewers. Y'all haven't heard anything yet, but it's like the deep ball. It has to be better. It has to be consistent because that's one of those momentum plays. And ironically, Wyoming, their rush defense is both 37 in yards per rush and then rush yards per game at 3 yards per rush and 95 yards per rush per game.
Yeah.
I think this is a good point from Brandon. But we as Texas fans, we were spoiled with Bijan and Rojo. If you watch any NFL Week 1, those 2 guys are plowing over people and breaking tackles in Week 1 NFL. So yeah, absolutely. Like you'd like to see Brooks and Baxter break more tackles, but yeah, we were very spoiled. That's for sure.
Yeah, those 2 guys are the elite of the elite when it comes to that. I mean, and they were in college last year. Like they were in the top 1-2% of all college running backs in yards after contact. I mean, that's hard to replicate, period. And Bijan may be like elite of the elite all time when it comes to that trait.
And Brooks isn't doing that bad so far this year, too.
No, he's looked good.
Like he's actually making guys like. I think, honestly, one of the biggest things that's been hurting Brooks is the lack of – it's been splitting backs.
Yeah.
He isn't – because that's a massive thing for running backs. People don't remember, like, the Tom Herman years. The ability for a running back to develop a rhythm and to get a feel for the game. Like, there's not another position on the football field that's like it.
Absolutely. By the way, speaking of Jonathan Brooks – Jonathan is a member of the Elite Sports Memorabilia family. And guys, if you want a Jonathan Brooks autographed jersey or helmet or anything else like that, scan this QR code and go check out ESM's Facebook page. I'm telling you, there is a lot to love on that site. There's so many. Jalen Ford you can get Jalen Ford memorabilia. Ethan Burke. I mean, that dude's breaking out. Are you going to jump on the Ethan Burke train? Hell, he's an Austin kid, Westlake boy. You want to get on this now because there is a lot of good stuff, and the prices are better now than they're ever going to be. I know we're only in September, mid-September, but it's not too early to start thinking about Christmas or even just an early gift for yourself. So scan the QR code, Elite Sports Memorabilia. There's a lot of great stuff. Adonai Mitchell's a member, Ethan Burke, Jonathan Brooks I mentioned. Maalik Murphy is going to be doing a signing soon. You can pre-order your Maalik Murphy gear now, pay for it, and when it's signed, it'll be shipped directly to your home. There's a lot of satisfied customers out there. Nash is one of them. Look at that wall. You can tell he's an Elite Sports Memorabilia aficionado. Nash, have you ever had a problem getting anything from ESM?
Never. I mean, like I mentioned, there was one time that I thought, okay, surely it's going to happen here, right? He's running a giant promotion. He's literally like, we're talking like Brandon has a system down. And that's the guy that runs the Elite Sports Memorabilia. But like, I mean, this is like a dude that we're talking thousands, like tens of thousands of orders. And as far as I know, there wasn't a single complaint that I ever saw from those orders that he had to, his response, "Oh, I'm sorry, I sent it to the wrong address, or I sent the jersey to the wrong place." No, man's got a system down and it's working. So I honestly, that was one thing that I was like, hey, that was a cool thing I got my jersey, and they all came, they all came where they're supposed to be.
Customer service is priority number one at ESM. So scan the QR code. Seriously, you're not going to regret it. I promise you, it's a good deal. And by the way, while we're talking about stuff, if you are not a member of Orangebloods.com, now's the time to do it. 60 days free. First off, if you're not a member, what are you waiting for? Because it's damn good content, and it's stuff that you get great content on OB Live. You're here, you're watching OB Live. Clearly, you like what you hear. It's that and more on the website. There's different components to each side of Orangebloods. I'll be going up with a column later today talking about the Wyoming game, talking about the Texas football team. That will be on OB Live, and if you want to read it, scan the QR code, get your 60-day free trial. You've got nothing to lose. But this is a bet Orangebloods is making that you're going to love it and not want to leave when that 60 days is up. So
today's the last day too. So do it today.
Yeah, time's running out on this one. Promo code Texas arrives. So real quick, I mentioned, Maalik Murphy is an ESM sponsor. He's going to be doing a signing soon. You can get those jerseys. Maalik, this is what this is one of those things I'm kind of looking forward to this week. All right. First off, I'm 100% with everything Nash said. I want to see the running game click. I'm 100% with what Aaron just said. I want to see those deep balls continue. It's one thing to do it just, 1 week where it's a one-off. We didn't have it in Rice. I want to see them hit this week. I think these receivers can take advantage of Wyoming defense. They're a good run defense, the passing game. Well, to Nash's point, the 37th in the country in run defense, but in total defense, they're 95th. So this is a time to put them to the test with the passing game. Let's hit some deep balls early and get out to a big lead. If that happens, I think this is another one of these games where we're going to see the backups come in. We're going to see some of the young freshmen come in. We're going to see a lot of these, they all get 4 games before having to burn their red shirt. I think this is one of those empty the bench type games. Maybe not completely empty. Wyoming's still a pretty damn good team. They beat Texas Tech. They're 2-0. But I still think this is one of those games where Texas can get a lot of players in the game. Here's what I want to see. If Sark goes to the backup quarterback, he went with Maalik Murphy in week 1 against Rice. He said he wanted to get Arch Manning into the game, but time got away from him. He didn't. They're listed as co-starters, number 2s. It's Maalik Murphy, who's clearly the number 2 for now, or Arch. So Arch is right there. Because Arch didn't get in against Rice, does he get into the game against Wyoming ahead of Maalik Murphy?
I think it's going to be Maalik first, because the reason is because I think Maalik is like the legitimate backup quarterback. I think like if like Anwar always says, we don't talk about injuries. If Quinn were to get the flu, I think it would be Maalik Murphy and it wouldn't be Arch. So if we're operating under that premise, I think at this point, like this is a team that is looking to make the college football playoff. If Quinn gets the flu for 2 or 3 week stretch, Maalik's got to come in and he's got to be able to do enough to win these games. So I think it's more important to get him the reps just to make sure he has more game reps, he gets more experience. So that way, if he is thrown into the fire, if something does happen to Quinn, like it's not just like, oh, okay, Quinn's down, we'll get Maalik some reps, we'll get Arch some reps, and it'll help them for next year. It's like, no, like you need to win these games if Quinn goes down to, stay in the race and wait for Quinn to get back so you can still make the playoffs, you can still win the Big 12. So I think we see Maalik first. If they're up by enough, I think we could see both. But, if it's a situation where Quinn plays into the middle of the 4th, then I think it'll be Maalik.
I think you're dead on, man. Like, this is a situation where you don't screw around, right?
Yeah.
Not in this season. And also, I think that there's an aspect of, although I don't think it matters as much as the point that you just said, but I do think there is a certain aspect of it is like, I hate to say this because like, especially in sports, but like fairness, it's really not fair to Maalik and Arch Manning to like, and what I'm talking about is the media after the game, like the articles for the weeks after the game, the distractions that it could cause by simply just playing Arch before Manning, Arch before Arch before Manning, but playing Arch before Maalik. It's just it opens a whole nother can of worms that I don't think Sark ever like. Sark's not stupid.
No.
He knows that if he plays Arch first, the first question that he's going to come out there, like he's going to come out with a prep statement about Maalik Murphy and Arch Manning in the to
All
open
right.
the next press conference. So he's not dumb, but I do think the one thing that I disagree with, I think that this is definitely going to be a game where we do see Arch Manning. Like I don't think there's a question because, like Travis said, that they wanted to get him in this last game. But I think that really the thing that kept them from doing that was a 9-minute drive. Like that, literally, it was the entire fourth quarter that that the Rice Owls had the football. So
yeah,
I think that this is a week that you could see us jump out and then Sark makes it like hit. Well, and honestly, I think the biggest thing is not having a first half like Rice. Because I think if we didn't have the Rice first half last week, or not last week, but versus Rice, that there's just no like Rice doesn't even have that chance to have that 9-minute drive where we don't see like Arch Manning's already in the game before that.
Yep.
So let me give you all the counter argument here. All right, I hear you, and both of you are saying makes perfect sense. If God forbid something were to happen where the backup needs to come in and play for real, they need reps. It's logical. It makes perfect sense. Here's my counter argument, and I don't know where I lie on this. I think both could conceivably happen. The counter argument is, I don't know that Sark knows 100%
correct
who the number 2 is.
I agree.
If he's got him listed as Orrs as a backup, he's seen one guy play already in a live game situation, and the other guy has never played in a live game situation. He's going to need some reps at some point too. So I think that's, and you're talking about like, what does he say to the press afterwards? He says, they're both my code number 2s. They're Orrs. I've seen one. I needed to see the other. This is why it doesn't mean he's moved ahead of Maalik. It means I needed to get these guys in the game to see what they could do. So,
also, man,
the fact that he hasn't seen Arch yet means I could see him making that move to put Arch into the game.
Well, he's seen Arch. He's seen Arch. He's seen Arch plenty of times. We haven't seen Arch.
He's never seen Arch.
It's like, I think what it comes down to with Arch Manning, I mean, because like the offense that he's going to be running, Arch Manning, it's going to be very much a late game offense. There's not going to be much that you're going to be able to take away from the game when he gets into the game in Wyoming. Like whatever happens in that game is honestly going to have very little to do with whatever whatever success he does or doesn't have later on in the season. I think most of that success is going to be, and honestly, confidence is going to be gained from, hey, we're watching Arch go up against a legit NFL defense that just, showed that they're an elite defense. And Arch has to go up against this every single day in practice. I mean, like, honestly, him playing scout team's quarterback, I think at times is going to be more beneficial to him.
But
than
there's a difference.
Anything else.
There is a difference between practice and a live game. And
yeah, I get that, but not when you're handing the ball off to a running back who's
I guess it depends on how early they get in the game. I don't think
he's running late game offense versus Wyoming, like unless he's out there running like actual concepts and all that stuff. And honestly, Sark has never shown to be the guy that he's going to sit there and run up the score just because he wants to get somebody working.
No,
he just hasn't shown that yet.
But even just handing the ball off, it's still something that Arch has never done in a live game situation. And I think this is one of those moments
college. I think that in college, he's definitely done a live game.
But he's never done this in college. He's never done it with 100,000 fans in the state.
That's what I just said. It's just
he's never done it.
He's done it in a game, just not in college.
He's never done it against college players. because, you know, with all due respect to Isidore Newman, that's not the same level of competition. Now, I will grant you, he sees a much higher level of competition in practice than what he's going to see against Wyoming. But it's still one of those stepping stones that has to happen at some point. And if he's and he could potentially be the guy who could be called upon if needed this season, then he's going to have to get in there at some point. So
yeah, I think that's the key. I think that's the key. Like if Sark truly doesn't know who he likes more as his true quarterback too, that's the scenario where we see Arch before Maalik. I think if we see Arch before Maalik, that's definitely going to be my takeaway. It's going to be he still doesn't actually know what he wants to do if Maalik goes down. In that scenario, hopefully, you know, if you go to hopefully, you know, Texas up by a lot, like mid third, late third, and you bring Arch in first, if he does bring in Arch first, you let him throw some passes. I mean, you know, you might have some backup linemen in there. You're probably throwing to, you know, Jonte Cook and Isaiah Nayer, but you still let him throw some passes for sure just to see what he's got. But yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you, Travis. If it's Arch first, the reason why is because he doesn't actually know. I think, and he wants to see what it does look like in a live game.
Yeah, I mean, I can easily get behind that, but like Nino just said, I don't think Sark is going to open that can of worms. I think he's too smart and he's too aware.
Yeah. No, I mean, my original prediction was it will be Maalik, but you know, I think that's why.
Yeah. And I'm not saying y'all are wrong. I'm absolutely not saying that it's going to be Arch. I'm just saying this is one of the. I think there's enough of a question that there is a logical argument to putting Arch out there ahead of Maalik without it. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. If you just say I have had him listed as or on the depth chart the whole time, I've seen one, I haven't seen the other. Who's going to argue with that? You know what I mean? I don't know that it is a can of worms. I think it's one of those things that, you know, maybe you're not. I think even Maalik, who would be the biggest, Maalik would be hurt the most by that, right? I mean, like Maalik still needs reps too. But I think even Maalik could understand, okay, we're still battling. I still need to work on this. He hasn't passed me. We're still battling. He got out. I got out in week one. He's got it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think this is, if he does it, I don't think that's a huge thing. I think Sark can easily explain it. Now, what will be interesting, what will be a huge thing would be the reaction in the stadium the moment Arch takes the field, if that happens. It's going to be, you know, fans are going to go nuts.
Yeah, they're doing the new light stuff this week. Nash, you going to the game this week?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'll be there too. We have to find out how close our seats actually are. But yeah, no, it'll be fun. The stadium will go nuts if it's Arch. I mean, the stadium's going to be on, you know, it's going to be on fire.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing like a sights and sounds and everything. I have a guy who told me to turn off the stereo recording sound, so hopefully that'll get a lot better.
Nice. By the way, David Pruitt checking in on the Specs chat line. He's saying, I'm just glad that we know who the number one quarterback is.
100%.
Damn Skippy, David. First off, I've always been on the Quinn Ewers train. It was obvious to me he's the number one. People calling for Maalik Murphy were just frustrated. All right. I'm not saying they're wrong. They were frustrated, and it's understandable why after the failure to connect on the deep ball against Rice.
This is so much less stressful to be talking about the backup quarterback debate than a QB1 debate. And real quick, Texas 2005 in the chat could be being sarcastic, but if he's not, man, do we have this surprise for you? Just scan this promo code real quick, and we've got you hooked up. If you're being sarcastic, then that's fine. If you're not, hey, Merry Christmas, because you scanned
right there,
code right there, and that is the hookup.
There you go, Texas 2005.
Get yourself a T'Vondre Sweat jersey. That was. Hey, by the way, that was a call. Okay, nobody. I had people on Twitter, in these little Twitter spaces saying, I think T'Vondre Sweat, I think he's lacking in the effort. I'm like, what? Apparently, you've never been watching 93 because this dude's running 30 yards down the field tackling wide receivers. Yeah,
absolutely.
So get yourself a T'Vondre Sweat jersey.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to address Doug Arrington's chat. Oh, look at that. So maybe that's
he was serious.
We got him.
Yeah, there you go, Texas. Good boy. I do want to address Doug Arrington's chat comment saying Arch is right where he needs to be, learning to take over in the future. And absolutely, every single one of us agrees with that, Doug. This is a learning year for Arch. 100% with you. But all I'm saying is part of that learning involves getting in the game at some point. He's got 4 games he can play without burning his red shirt. This feels like one of those that could potentially be a game where 2 people scan that QR code. Let's show ESM some love this morning, boys. I love it. This is one of those games where we could see the benches empty. We could see a lot of guys get in. We could see some of those young pass rushers. I tell you, one young pass rusher we've already seen a lot of, and I want to see step up even more, is I want to see Anthony Hill, what he can produce against Wyoming. Look, he turned out, obviously, 2 sacks. He was a stud, 6 tackles, I think. This guy is a stud. I said almost somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but half serious, half jokingly, predicted Anthony Hill to get 14 sacks on the season. 2 down. He just missed 1 in week 1 against Rice. I want to see those sack totals come in because that guy knows how to get after the quarterback. And I love Ethan Burke and what he's doing, and I love Barron Sorrell and what he's doing. I want to see some edge rushing, getting after the quarterback. Wyoming's quarterback actually has some legs. He can move a little bit. I mean, we should not sleep on him at all. He's like second in the team in rushing. Sorry, I'm trying to remember his name, right? Peasley. He's second in Andrew Peasley. He's second in the team in rushing. So it's not like he's a stone pony back there, but he's not Jalen Milroe either. I want to see what this Texas defense does against him.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, they're an interesting team. I'm excited to play this interview with Ryan Thorburn because he had a lot of good information. I mean, Texas is going to win this game. They're probably going to win this game going away, but there are some interesting aspects that, we'll be able to take away from this game, I think.
Hey, all right. 2 more chat things I've got to address. First off, Texas Mama. Welcome to the show, Texas Mama. This is the Get Your Horns Up show. We love to have you here. We love you contributing in the chat.
I think she might be referring to Texas 2005, like asking about the authentic jerseys.
Oh, I see. Well, You know what? I still love having you in the chat, Texas Mama. Thank you. The other chat was from JB. JB.
No comment. We moved on. We're on to Wyoming. Bill Belichick meme.
I predicted Texas to beat Bama. I have them going 11-1 in the season. I have never, ever, ever been down on Texas. We were playing devil's advocate yesterday.
Travis is in the dungeon. He's in the dungeon.
Yeah. The only thing
Travis, now you know why people don't play devil's advocate too much.
Lesson learned.
People are going to peg these takes to you, man. Like it's
lesson
learned.
They're
gonna say, I saw that Travis dude say this one time, and then I turned it off.
Nash is a little more bullish on Texas than me. He's got them 12-0. I've had them 11-1 though. There's nobody else on the OB staff has been more bullish on me except Nash. By the way, too broke to pay attention. Hill just has to average 1.5 sacks a game to get 14. It's doable. It absolutely is doable. I don't know that it's likely, but it's doable. And a game like Wyoming is where you pad your stats. That offensive line can be had. So if he could get 2 or 3 and all of a sudden he's up to 5 or 6, then we're really starting to cook with gas. Nash, what is it? What's one more thing you want to see this week?
Honestly, just another clean game. I want to see as little penalties as possible. Definitely. Like another thing is also too is I want to see the offensive line go out there and have another just a physically dominant game because hey, y'all showed us versus Alabama versus legit NFL defensive players on Alabama's roster that like y'all can move bodies. We were suspect of that after the Rice game. Now just go out there and like this should be a game where Alabama was the game that they took out their energy on or took out their anger and just dumped their energy. Now it's just, hey, go out there and prove that you're that dude. Because if you can do that, yeah, that's like those performances are what get people drafted.
Love it.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good
call.
point. I mean, that's what, consistency. That's all anyone wants to see at this
Absolutely,
point.
because those are championship teams.
Yep.
Absolutely. Aaron, you've got one more in you? Or?
No, man. I pretty much emptied the clip. I'm going to the game, so I'm excited to see the crowd. I want to be impressed by the new environment, the new lighting show. I mean, even though it's Wyoming 28.5-point favorites, fresh off a win off of Bama, I would like to be impressed by the crowd, So, I mean, that's just a little thing that I'm excited about and that I'll be checking in on.
Good call, both of you. One thing I want to see is just everyone stay healthy. That's the obvious one, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Let's just get through this cleanly. I like Nash's clean, no penalties, no stupid mistakes. That's something. And the final thing I want to see is, the third down conversion rate's got to come up. It just has to. It was too low against Rice. It was still too low against Bama. If this offense is going to hit on all cylinders, and it has yet to hit on all cylinders, that's one thing they're going to need to get better at. But listen, Wyoming is not at all a pushover, and we don't want to make it out to be that they are. There's some talent there, and we talked in our scouting report with Ryan Thorburn of the Star Tribune in Casper, Wyoming. He's the beat writer for the Casper Tribune. He covers the team every day. We did a pre-interview with him yesterday because, frankly, it's really early in Wyoming right now, so we didn't want to force him to get up. So we're going to get to that in a second. But first, are you ready to go for Saturday? Boys, are you ready? Are you pumped? Are you excited? You loaded up?
I'm more ready than Nash. Apparently, he's gone. But yeah, no, I'm excited. There you go. He's back.
No, I had to sneeze. I'm not letting people get a screenshot of that, dude. I'm not. No.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You can get Nash I'm sure at the checkout line and Specs. I bet they've got those little packets of Kleenex so that next time you sneeze. That's just one of the many products you can get at Specs, right?
I've been waiting to use this. Y'all aren't catching me sleeping. I'm not.
I can't read that.
It said not today. Y'all aren't going to get me on a spec. Y'all aren't going to get me on a Specs transition. Nope, not anymore.
We'll see. But for the rest of you guys need to go hit up Specs. Seriously, it is a Texas company that has the finest in spirits, food, whatever you need for game day. They've got them. Heck, why wait for Saturday? Go hop on Specs Online right now. Get stocked up for Thursday night football. Then you're ready to go for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And trust me, you don't want to be that person who, when Texas is beating Alabama and you're looking to go celebrate, then you run out because you didn't have enough and you've got nothing to celebrate that big win with. That's not who you want to be. The best way to avoid that is to go hit up Specs and get everything you need for your game day now.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
All right. Looks like we got some tech stuff going on.
Yeah.
Let's be talking about.
That's okay. You know what? While Aaron's working on this,
yeah,
we did not mention, by the way, and Texas Mama did, and I love you, Texas Mama. Thank you so much. Guys, if you've been enjoying this, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been enjoying this show, be sure to hit that like button. We really do appreciate it. It helps us out. Also, subscribe to the channel. OB Live has Texas football content all day, every day, Monday through Friday, Saturdays too. We're here bringing you the latest and greatest from what's happening at DKR and in practice.
All right, Travis, I'm going to give this a shot. Go ahead. We are now presenting the scouting report with Ryan Thorburn, hopefully.
There you go. Welcome back. We are joined this morning by Ryan Thorburn of the Star Tribune in Casper. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to getting to Austin and getting some barbecue and seeing what Wyoming's all about in a game against maybe the best team in the country.
Brian, have you ever been to Austin before?
Yeah, I used to work in Boulder for 15 years, so I've been to a lot of Colorado games, football, basketball, and even an NCAA tournament there. So very familiar with it. we'll see how Wyoming's team deals with it this year.
It's going to be a little hotter. Just a skosh.
Just tad bit.
Right. So Ryan, speaking of Wyoming, the Cowboys are 2-0 coming into town. They had a huge win week 1 against Texas Tech. They followed that up with a decent win against Portland State, shall we say. What's the mood of the team coming into this big game against Texas?
Well, I think internally they had pretty high expectations this season. They were picked sixth in the Mountain West, but their plans are to win the Mountain West. They had the most players on the Mountain West preseason all-conference team, more than Boise State, more than Fresno State. So they have a really good core group coming back from last year. They were 7-3 at one point, right in the mix for the Mountain West, and they kind of ran out of gas. They lost a gut punch game to Boise State in the last seconds, and then just had a lot of injuries and got blown out at Fresno State to end the season. So that really motivated them this offseason. I think having 2 Big 12 teams on the schedule really helped them in the offseason. Just, you have that carrot out there. I know they really put a lot into that Texas Tech game and pulled that out. So they come in with confidence. I mean, they've beaten one of Texas's rivals. Obviously, with what happened last weekend in Tuscaloosa, it looks like the Longhorns are a level or 2 above the Red Raiders, but you have that win under your belt. Wyoming has a history of underperforming and struggling against FCS teams. They did that last week. But that's to be expected. I mean, you're coming off a very high. You see the score that Portland State lost 81-7 to Oregon, and it's human nature. But, they're relatively healthy and they have confidence, and I think, they have nothing to lose really. So I think they should play well.
So Sark described this he said it's going to be a great challenge. He described it as a veteran group. And certainly that description fits the quarterback, Andrew Peasley, a 6th-year player, a graduate transfer out of Utah State. He's put up some very good numbers. This is 2nd year in the system, in Bull's system. And he certainly seems to be the stir that I always screw this up. The stir that stirs the straw that stirs the drink.
The straw. You use a straw. The straw. Yeah, that's what you use. That's what you put in the
straw
cup before
stirs.
you drink. Yeah.
There you go. He's the dude who runs the show. Is that an accurate description?
Well, Wyoming's program is built around running the ball, defense, and special teams. And really the only missing piece since Josh Allen went to the NFL is quarterback play. It's been horrible for 5 years, including Peasley last year. He was coming from Utah State, who runs 4 wide spread. Similar to Texas Tech, the marker is put down and they snap the ball. The throws are quick. There's not a lot of thought that goes into it. Wyoming runs a pro-style offense, with a fullback, 2 tight ends, the quarterback under center. And it was really a rough transition for Peasley last year. And he also was banged up throughout the year. Now he seems much more comfortable. They have a transfer from Holy Cross named Ayer Asante, who is a good weapon for him. They had 2 touchdowns last week. He's a kid who has a lot of experience in the FCS and a lot of speed. So the passing game has actually been a pleasant surprise. The offense has been much more balanced this year. If anything, I think they're questioning the running game a little bit coming into this game, because the 3 tailbacks they used, each one of them has lost a fumble, and that's kind of how they got in that 17-0 hole against Texas Tech. So better balance, and he can use his feet. He's taken a beating through 2 games, though. That's a real concern, especially in this game. I think beyond pulling out the upset of the century, their number 2 goal is to get out of this game without any season-ending injuries.
Ryan, if you consider how Texas just did against Alabama, against the run and rushing the passer, I know you mentioned that Wyoming is going to look to run the ball. If you just had to pick one, which one do you think will probably be more effective? Do you think Wyoming will have a better chance to try to establish something in the run game, or do you think it could be possible for them to maybe hold up in pass protection and try to spread the ball around, or do you think it could be a long day either way for Wyoming's offensive line against this Texas front?
Yeah, it could be a long night, but I think they're going to try to establish the run. They haven't really done that the way they like to the last two games. You know, at the end of the Portland State game, they pulled Peasley with a 21-point lead and thought they could just run the ball and run the clock out. And Portland State knew they were just going to run the ball, and they, stopped it. And that was very disappointing. And then one thing though is they're getting Harrison Whaley for this game. He's a Northern Illinois transfer. They played Northern Illinois a couple of years ago, and he tore them up, and they had a really good defense that year. So when he went in the portal, they immediately his name just popped for them, and they were on him right away. He had off-season knee surgery after the spring. It was more of a cleanup thing, but they held him out the first two games just to make sure he was 100%. So he's going to play in this game. I don't know how much, but I think they want to get him up to speed for Mountain West play, because I think he could be, one of the better running backs in the Mountain West. They have Sam Scott right now as their leading rusher. He's started out as a linebacker. They had some injuries last year and some portal guys before the bowl, and he switched to running back, and he's a big guy. So that combination of Whaley's speed and Sam Scott's power, once they get into Mountain West play, I think that could really help them out, with Peasley also playing better.
Ryan, so I think a big thing for Texas that they're going to be focusing on this week is the run game. That's one thing that we really need to get one guy that's solidified as a lead back. Wyoming has looked like they have a pretty decent rush defense. What's the best run defenders that y'all have on the team this year?
Yeah, I mean, you guys probably remember Oscar Giles, Mac Brown's defensive line coach. He's now at Wyoming, and he has developed a really good interior defensive lineman. Cole Goodbow is another super senior. He'd probably be on an NFL roster, at least would have been in camp if he didn't have a foot injury midway through last year. He's, one of the best players in the Mountain West, and his partner, Jordan Bertinoli, is really good. I think they're like 25th right now in, stopping the run, yards per rush attempt against them. So they're off to a good start there. The longest runs they've allowed so far this year were a 12-yard run by Tyler Shuck, and then an 11-yard run by Portland State's quarterback. So they've shut down the opposing tailbacks. Now, granted, as you guys know, the Red Raiders, they love to pass the ball, and that's what they were trying to do in that game. But a good start. I think that is interesting. I did hear Sark's comment, where he said, we wanted to be aggressive and attack Alabama with our, passing and our receiver weapons. And obviously that was a master stroke there. But the fact that he said we could have probably run the ball on them if we wanted to, we just didn't do it. That's interesting. And I would expect them, just to try and impose their will in that regard on Wyoming. But that's also one of Wyoming's strengths. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Well, and that's one reason why I think they're going to try to do that, is because it's a good opponent to, really get some working on.
Right. And if they are able to do that, who are some of the guys that are going to be hanging with the talented Texas receivers on the outside, and what does the defensive scheme usually look like? How does the defensive coach over there at Wyoming usually try to play the passing game? Is it more of a, like too high safety, try to put a roof on the defense, or will they, dare to go man to man and bring pressure at some points? Or are they going to kind of mix it up? What is kind of the MO for the Wyoming defense this year?
Yeah, they run a nickel defense, and their nickel back is actually a small town Texas kid, Rook Brown, and he's a very small guy who packs a nasty punch. Obviously he wasn't recruited by, A&M or Texas because of his size, but he is a perfect fit for Wyoming because he's a really hard-hitting nickel. And he had a really good game against Tech. He intercepted Shuck, and that kind of flipped the script on how that game was going. And then they have a cornerback named Colby Taylor, who was actually, I think, number 22 on Bruce Feldman's Freaks list. He is in his first year in a starting role, and he's 6'4", 190. So he's going to be, this is a big game for him, just to, for the next level in a few years, like how he matches up with these guys. And then their other cornerback, starting quarterback, is a guy named Ja'Cory Hawkins, who was at Ole Miss, transferred to Wyoming last year. coming out of high school, he was, a touted recruit. So they have a couple guys that can run a little bit with Texas's receivers. It's just a matter of if they can't get pressure on Ewers, which obviously Alabama didn't have any sacks, then, there's nothing those guys can really do.
Yeah. So I was reading one of your columns earlier this morning, and it was talking about Ryan Peasley saying they're not going to be intimidated coming into Austin, and they've got to just play with cowboy grit. Is that kind of the MO of what this team is preparing for Saturday? They're just going to buckle up, strap it on, and go? Or
yeah, I mean, Peasley, he took an absolute beating. I mean, that old Dallas movie, North Dallas 40 or whatever, it was that type of 70s style beating. But then at the end of the game,
I get that, but I assure you these two do not.
No, we weren't alive then.
I was alive when I was a kid, and I still remember it because, but anyway, but 4th and 7, double overtime, down 6, a blitzer coming right at him, just nails him, and he throws the game tying touchdown. He is defining what he's talking about, and everyone's following his lead. So, I don't think they're going to be intimidated. That doesn't mean they have the talent to win or anything, but they're not going to be intimidated. I mean, when Peasley was at Utah State, he played at Michigan State, which is 75,000. I know Whaley, when he was at Northern Illinois, played against Michigan in the Big House. On a lower level, Boise State and the Blue Turf and some of the venues they play in are rough. So I don't think the crowd and the scene is going to overwhelm them, but the talent is the issue. I mean, their defensive coordinator was joking with me. I said, where do you start with these guys? And he's like, by seeing if we can play with 12 or 13 guys would be a good start.
Ryan,
just so we're clear, by the way, you're not saying that Peasley is spending the post game in a hot tub with a beer and a cigar and a bowl full of pills next to him, right? That's not the North Dallas 40 reference you were making.
No, he actually, it's his 6th year of college. He just got married this spring, and he has a child now. And, he actually married a Utah State gymnast that he met at Utah State. So he's probably home changing diapers and in the cold tub, but he is definitely a throwback guy. And, I think if it gets out of hand, I think they will probably pull him because they need him to win the Mountain West. But that first half, they're going to go for it.
Good.
Speaking of all the talent that you're talking about, we got one of these guys. Isaiah, I had to adjust my thing right here. Isaiah Nair, man, he's one of my favorite wide receivers at Texas this year, and I just want to see if there was any cool stories that y'all had on him from his time at Wyoming, because I know obviously this is probably a bittersweet game for probably both him and y'all. He really he flew under the radar. It was the perfect storm for a recruit like him, with his athleticism, playing late, COVID, all that stuff happening. Just want to see if you had any cool stuff to speak on him real quick.
Well, obviously it took him a couple of years to develop just to play at Wyoming. And then in 21, he popped as, maybe the most explosive wide receiver in the Mountain West, in the, let's say, one of the worst passing offenses in the country. So
it was, it was impressive. It was very impressive what he did.
They had 2 quarterbacks, Sean Chambers and Levi Williams, who were wildly inconsistent, and they were 4-0 against a very weak non-conference schedule. But then during the Air Force game, Chambers started to turn the ball over, and it just went sideways. They lost to Air Force. They lost to New Mexico. They lost to Fresno State, all defensive battles. And then finally went to Levi Williams, who had a really good rapport with Nayor, being in the same class. And they connected on some nice deep passes. The Potato Bowl, I think they both decided before that they were going to move on and transfer, and they had a big game in the bowl game. And then, obviously Wyoming, which was such a steady, consistent program, was rocked by the transfer portal after the 21 season. I think Craig Bull has adjusted very, very well to that after doing some soul searching. He admitted he needed to have a better relationship with his players. I don't think Levi or Nayor probably felt like, they had a great relationship with Craig, and he ends up at Texas. I'm just curious from you guys. I mean, obviously he still has that elite talent, but based on the stats, it seems like he's kind of buried on the depth chart. I know he always dreamed of playing at Texas, and he's probably got NIL money and all that, but I mean, if he stayed at Wyoming, he probably would be the best receiver in the Mountain West, would probably be on NFL radars.
Well, I mean, hey, here's the deal. If you actually want our guy, Alex Dunlap, who does football with friends, he's another guy that's massive on Nayor. Like, me and him are really high on Nayor. Yeah. Like, he's like, when Alex is walking around, it's NFL scouts are constantly saying, hey, what are you about Nayor? What about Nayor? I think the thing that really buried him the most was the fact that he got injured, and it took him until fall camp to really get back to 100%. And then now there's a ton, like, there's so many legit like NFL wide receivers on this. Like, when you have guys like Jonte Cook sitting down, it's hard, but
he's stuck behind Adonai Mitchell, and the Texas coaches don't rotate the receivers a lot. You look at the play chart for like the Alabama game, they really stick with their starting three for the most part. So it's unfortunate he's not in the field, but the coaches love him. The talent is there, and when he does play, he makes plays. Mm-hmm. So it's really more of a function of the way they play receivers than anything else.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, I wanted to ask you, by the way, you mentioned Nayor. We talked about Nayor. You mentioned the linebacker from Texas. It seems like there's quite a few Texas kids that end up in Wyoming. Is Bold make it a point to get down here to recruit kids? Or is this, one of his regular stops, or is it just happenstance?
It's something that's kind of developed. This is his 10th year at Wyoming. It's something that's kind of developed over the last 5 or 6 years. At first, he really wasn't recruiting Texas. He was going for more of the tough kids from the Midwest, from North Dakota and Minnesota and Illinois. And they still have a lot of those guys. But, I would say besides Colorado and Wyoming in large part is, walk-ons. You have your Logan Wilsons and your Bert Nollies, and, once a year they get a scholarship guy from Wyoming. But beyond Colorado and Wyoming, I would say Texas is probably their number 3 area, and Oscar Giles obviously is a big part of that. I think he has, great rapport with just about every high school coach in Texas. They know what they're looking for. It's, guys built like Nayor that are ignored because of whatever the system they're in or the circumstances they're in. Their third running back, DQ James, is from Dallas. He has Olympic speed. But he's a small guy. He's 5'7", 165. So all his buddies, are in the Big 12, but he's not. And they love those kind of guys that have a chip on their shoulder. So that's an area where they've produced a lot of really good players lately. And, with this exposure, beating Texas Tech and now getting to play down there, and Oscar Giles, getting to show off, or what he hopes show off, his defensive line down there. It's going to continue. I think they signed 9 guys from Texas in the last cycle, and those guys are all redshirting, but it's definitely the direction they're headed.
I think there's a little bit of familiarity between Wyoming, Colorado, and Texas too. Like, when you think about just like the overall, like a general vibe of the state.
Yeah, I think, the Texas kids, especially the rural ones, fit in very well in Laramie. They've seen cowboy hats before. They've seen trucks.
They've seen a cactus.
I mean, the only thing they really have to adjust to is the altitude and the winter. And beyond that, it's a very charming Texas-like downtown. So, and I think, it was a long time ago, but I think when when Mac Brown took his team to Laramie, I think all of the fans from Texas really enjoyed that game. Obviously, Texas won.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful place up there.
By the way, I love how you just kind of glossed over, they just have to adjust to the winter. Like, that's nothing for a Texas kid to adjust to a Wyoming winter.
Hey, I'll take
But
the
at
winter
this-
over this 100 plus heat right now.
Yeah, at the same time, their fall camp has no humidity and high of 80 degrees. So
There you go.
this is the time of year where they call it Paradise.
One quick question, by the way, one more. What are the Wyoming fans going to do to be able to watch this game? It's on the Longhorn Network. How are they going to make that happen?
I've heard from some people, I think, have it in their package. Other people have no idea how to get it.
Same with Texas fans, by the way.
They probably need to call the Buckhorn downtown and see if they've got it. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. It's funny how technology keeps getting better, but we keep figuring out like how do we get all these games? Are they on Paramount or on the Pac-12 network, Longhorn Network? It's crazy.
I hear there is a YouTube channel that will be cutting these things up though.
Yeah, Ryan, we can't thank you enough for joining us, buddy. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate the insight into Wyoming, and I'm sure you're like us. We're looking forward to Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I think Wyoming has nothing to lose, like I said. They beat Texas Tech, which was already a bonus.
Yeah.
Next week, I think, is their key game. They host App State. If they could go 3-1 and just at least compete, maybe cover the spread, not that they care about that. They might be the Mountain West. They might be the Mountain West favorite based on that non-con.
They better not care about the spread. They're not Iowa State,
right?
Ryan, if people want to follow you on social media or keep up with any of your content, pregame, postgame, or just keep up with Wyoming as the year goes on, what's the best way for fans to do that?
Yeah, the newspaper's website's easy to remember, trib.com. There's a tab where we have all of the Wyoming football coverage. And on Twitter, I'm at @by_Ryan Thorburn. So looking forward to this. Gonna get some barbecue and beer on Friday, and looking forward to that.
Awesome. Gotta hit the Terry Blacks.
All right, I'm writing that down.
Thank you so much, Ryan. We hope you have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys, that was a really good interview, and I'll be honest, I didn't realize that Oscar Giles was on the Wyoming staff.
I didn't either. That was like that. I wasn't setting up anything right there. He just slapped me in the face with that. I was like, "Hey, Oscar."
Yeah, that's.
I thought Ryan was great. I feel like he dropped a lot of knowledge. He gave us the full scouting report, and he's just coming to town with the right attitude. He's like, I'm not here to cover some shocking upset. I'm here to get some barbecue, watch some football, and get back home. I think he had the perfect plan coming in.
What did surprise me is he said he was here from the Colorado days, back when Colorado was in the Big 12, and I'm like, how do you not know Terry Blacks? I was just mentioning them. I was like an off the cuff remark, not as a suggestion, but yeah, go to Terry Blacks.
I mean, it's a no brainer at this point. The other interesting thing that really stuck out to me, by the way, was he was talking about how they could be pulling their own quarterback in this game just to preserve him for Mountain West Conference play. I mean, that kind of shows you where they are coming into this game, and the fact that their quarterback is banged up. I mentioned he's been mobile; he's like their second leading rusher, but they're a bigger fish to fry for Wyoming than winning this game. If they could do it, by all means, they're going to try and do it. I'm not saying that, but this isn't the Tech game in opening week. They're about to hit conference play. So you hate to say they're looking ahead, but it kind of feels like Wyoming's already looking ahead to conference play. Look at that.
Yeah. Well, but I think when you typically talk about a team looking ahead, they're talking about like, oh, we need to try and win instead of looking ahead and getting the loss. But I think Wyoming's already kind of saying, hey, it's coming.
Let's not kill ourselves and ruin our own hopes of a conference championship by trying to get crazy with Texas. That's where but now it's up to Texas to fight against that. They've got to be prepared in their own. They've got to. The game isn't against Wyoming for Texas. The game is against their own mentality and being prepared. And that's what I'm writing about today on orangebloods.com. So be sure to join orangebloods.com if you're not a member already. Scan this QR code, 60 days free. Free.
Free.
Free. Free. Use the promo code TexasArrive, scan this QR code, hit up orangebloods.com. If you like what we've been hearing, if you like that breakdown on what you can expect to see from Wyoming, which there's a lot of good nuggets in there, be sure to hit the like button for us. It helps us out. Also, subscribe to the channel. We've got Anwar Richardson's Old Fashioned Sports Show coming up. We've got House Divided with Jeff Ketchum and Chad Hastings coming up. We've got Football with Friends with Alex Dunlap coming up. The OB Outsiders at night coming up. Wait, it's a nonstop full lineup of Orangebloods Texas football talk. And you won't get it anywhere else, not to this quality. So subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of this. I promise you, your life will be better as a result of it. That's how good it is. We make people's lives better, gentlemen. Does that make you feel good?
Makes me
Feeling all right. We'll be back tomorrow making our picks. We won't just be picking the game. We'll be picking against the spread. We'll be picking first touchdown, predicting stat lines, all that good stuff. Nash was really on top of the stat lines last week, so we'll see if he can do it again. But yeah, a lot of Texas Wyoming predictions tomorrow. So make sure you tell your friends about the show and then come back and check us out.
There you go, guys. That for Aaron Little of Orangebloods, for Nash Talks Texas on Twitter, YouTube, everywhere else you would, or Texas Clips on YouTube. Guys, make sure you follow them, all of us on social media, at Nash Talks Texas, at Aaron Little OB, and at Travis Gailey. For all of us here at Get Your Horns Up, we thank you for tuning in and have a